You have an ability to talk to people's higher selves. You just don't realize it. You don't realize that you have that within you. But it's okay, because in this video, I'm going to tell you guys a couple of different ways that you could tell that you're bringing out a different side out of somebody. Now, before I go on with this video, I just want to say, I'm not saying every single one of you guys are able to do this, because mind you, we all came down to this planet with a different gift. We all have different abilities, different bodies, different thought processes, different brains. Like, we're all different. So I'm not saying that every single one of you guys are able to do this, but I'm just giving you tips, ideas, different examples that you could use for you to be able to tell whether or not you have this within you, So what do I mean by bringing out a different side out of somebody? Well, we all know everybody has two sides to themselves. Some people have more than two sides. For those people, throw that out the window. There's nothing you could do about that. But for everybody else, mostly everybody has two sides to them. They have their ego and they have their higher self. The ego, we all know the ego. We're all familiar with it. When people are in their ego, they may talk different, they may use slang, they may participate in things that they usually don't participate in. Whether, for an example, like if somebody is a clubber and they don't usually club, or if somebody drinks alcohol and they don't usually drink alcohol, or, just things along that lines of just doing things that your higher self really wouldn't do. So yeah, we all know what the ego is. The ego gets mad. The ego, dwells on problems of the past. The ego brings you down, might talk trash about yourself. Like, these are all things that the ego does. On the other side, you got your higher self. The higher self is very detached. It doesn't really care about anything. It just keeps it simple. It keeps it simple, and it sticks to the basics, which is family, you, and that's it. Whatever makes you happy, whatever serves your purpose, whatever you direct your energy towards in hopes of it reciprocating the same energy back. So that's the difference between the higher self and the ego. The higher self is more connected to reality, more self-aware, more detached from third dimensional things, whereas the ego is more, I guess, blind, more unconscious, more ignorant, So we both know how these things are. So let's talk about, what do I mean by getting a different side out of somebody. Again, I'm not saying every one of you guys can do this, but I feel like I have this gift of reaching a different side of somebody, pulling a different side out of somebody. What do I mean? I'll tell you what I mean. So oftentimes I find myself hanging out with friends, and usually I'm not paying attention to, the conversations we have, how people are behaving, how people are acting. I don't usually pay attention to that all the time. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit up here and act like every single time I hang out with a friend, I'm paying attention to them. Like, I'm paying attention to their mannerisms. I'm not doing that. But when I do pay attention, when I do keep a close eye on what's going on around me, my surroundings, how people act, when I do pay attention, I oftentimes find out that I bring a different side out of people. What do I mean? Like, all right, here's an example. So when I'm with my friends, right? My friends tend to be very, they're in their ego, as everybody else, which is not a bad thing. I don't want to make it seem like since you're in your ego, it's a bad thing. With time, everybody will start to decipher the difference between their ego and their higher self. That comes with time. I'm not expecting you to operate out of your higher self 24/7, nor am I expecting you to operate out of your ego 24/7. But I just notice these things, and I make like mental notes, and I just write these things down in my head. So whenever I'm around my friends, I'm not even gonna lie. They talk ghetto. They use ebonics. They use slang. All those things. They talk about the sports. They talk about sports. They talk about music, um, and all these kind of things. But I notice when I start to talk and when I start to like use my authentic, like when I'm my authentic self around my friends, 9 times out of 10, they'll start to put those barriers down. They'll start to put those boundaries down. They'll start to say, you know what? He's not acting like something he's not. So why should I act like something I'm not? So that kind of makes them begin to act like their higher self. If you know what I mean. It's very hard to explain without like an actual conversation, or like without an actual person right here beside me, but try to visualize this the best you can. Whenever we talk, not we, whenever my friends and I talk, there's slang being used, we talk different, whatever. But when I say to myself, you know what, I want to flip the switch and try to see if I can get a different side out of people, it usually works. It usually works. When I talk like this, how I'm talking right now, articulated, expressive, my true self, 9 times out of 10, I get that same exact result out of somebody around me. They start to say, you know what? Let me put my boundaries down. Let me not act like this. Let me come back to my senses and actually have a conversation with this man one on one. No dumb shit, Um, I'm not cutting that out. I'm trying to find like another example that I could use. Um, it's very important to surround yourself with people that will bring out your higher self more than they bring out your ego. All right. I'm not going to give like a percentage. I'm not going to give, oh, you should, be your higher self 90% of the time. No, but you should aim to have friends that you're comfortable around. You should aim to have friends that you don't think twice about expressing your true self or your true feelings. Those are the type of friends you want to have around you, because if you have friends that are constantly in their ego, and I'm not saying that any of my friends are constantly in their ego, because like I said, like 9 times out of 10, when I flip that switch and when I talk articulated and when I express my true self, that's when I can get the same result out of different people. But when I'm in my ego, when I act rowdy, when I, talk about music or talk about sports, even though I know these things are irrelevant, then that's when I get the same result out of the person I'm talking about. It's like what I'm presenting on the inside, what I'm presenting in the physical, that's what will reflect to me through different people. That's the best way I can put it. And yeah, it's very important to surround yourself with the right people, the people that will accept you for who you are. And you should always just be yourself unapologetically. You shouldn't think twice about, oh, should I say this, or should I crack this joke, or should I act like this, or should I, you don't ever want to have those thoughts inside your head when you're around somebody, because it's very toxic. You're going to lose yourself very quickly when you find out that everybody around you is kind of forcing you to become something that you're not. So, yeah, like I feel like I have an ability to bring out the best out of people, even when I'm not trying. Like, another example, when I'm out with friends and, you know, somebody may mention somebody else's name and start talking bad about them, I usually speak up and I'm like, hey, don't talk about them like that. He's cool. Like, he's cool with me. We don't have a problem with him. And when I say that, they stop. They stop talking shit about that person. So it's like I kind of hold, I don't want to say authority, but I kind of hold like my presence is felt. My opinion is felt. My opinion matters whenever I'm around these people. Other examples is like, all right, we'll be out, we'll be walking, and, I do something nice for somebody. Like, I'm trying to think of an actual example where this happened. Like, oh, okay, all right. So we're in school, right? me and my friend, we're walking down the hallway and somebody drops their books. I may lean down, help that person pick up their books. And I see my friend, he leans down and helps that person picks up their books as well. So things like that, when I commit like a positive action, when I do something positive, I will see the people around me notice it and want to do the same thing. Things like that, like um what's another example? Like, all right, I was in the car yesterday and I was driving with my friends, and they, like, them two were just talking. It was me and two other people in the car. I was just driving. I was focusing on the road, and they would talk and they would like have not arguments, but they would like ask each other if they agreed with something. And every time they would ask each other, "Hey, do you agree with this?" I would look up at the rear view mirror and I would see my friend in the back seat, and he would be asking me, "Oh, do you agree with this? How do you think? Like, what do you think about this? What's your opinion on this?" So things like that, like asking for my opinion, asking for my, not my validation, but asking for my thoughts, asking if he agrees with me. And sometimes, like, I just remember being in the car and I would say something and then the person in the back seat would repeat what I said, like things like that. Like, and I'm saying all this to say that your energy, your presence is very, very, like, it's very, very important. Like, it's felt. People can feel it. You have an impact on people. You just don't realize it because you're not being told. You're not being told by these people that you make an impact on their lives. Because, mind you, and I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus, or I don't mean to call anybody names, but a lot of people are, what's the word? They're, somebody help me find the word. Somebody comment the word in the comment section. It's the word used to describe somebody that doesn't want to admit somebody else helped them and just wants to act like they helped themselves. I don't know what that word is called, but somebody comment it down below. But that's what people like. People like to act like they help themselves, that nobody else around them helped them. What's the word, man? What's that word called? I don't know. If I sit up here and think about it, I'm gonna end up making this video like 20 minutes long, so I'm gonna just leave it at that. But you know what I mean. Like, people just like to act like they help themselves and nobody around them can help them, and they can only guide themselves, they can only help themselves, and they don't want help from anybody else. Like, some people are just like that nowadays. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because of social media. I don't know. But yeah, like, I'm saying all this to just say, like, you have an impact on people. You can probably bring out the best out of people. You can, 9 times out of 10, you can bring out people's higher selves in conversations. Like, another example, when I'm talking to people, I start asking like thought-provoking things. I start picking inside people's brain and seeing what they think about certain subjects. Like, a close friend of mine, we'd always talk about just crystals. We would talk about, what's in space, energy, manifestation, the universe. And I notice whenever I talk to her, I always bring out her higher self. I always bring out her higher self. It's never her ego. It's never her ego that I'm talking to. Like, whenever her and I talk, it's her higher self. But when we step away from that conversation, when we step away from those topics, and when we start kind of going back to the third dimension and talking about third dimensional things, then that's when her ego comes back out. So things like that, like, I notice I can have very good conversations with the people about deep things. And oftentimes when I talk about deep things, it's always their higher self. It's always like not a vulnerable, but like a non-judgmental, free-spirited person that I'm talking to. And it's just cool how, like, you can bring out different sides of people without even, because I don't want to say I don't realize it, because I do realize it, but without even like making a conscious effort to. Like, mind you, I don't really walk inside these conversations thinking to myself, all right, I want to bring out a different side out of this person, or all right, I want to bring out their higher self out of this conversation. I don't consciously make an effort to do that. This just happens naturally. So, yeah, I just wanted to share this observation that I noticed about just the way people act around me. And I want to know if anybody out there can relate, if anybody out there can bring out their higher self, like bring out anybody else's higher self. Like, even with my parents, like when I talk to them, it's always their higher self. It's always their higher self. It's never their ego. And I just think it's interesting, you know? I want to know if anybody out there can relate to me. I want to know if anybody out there can bring out people's higher selves like I can. And yeah, that's all I really have for today's video. I hope you were able to understand what I was saying. I hope you're able to find out if you have this ability within yourself. You probably do, because if you watch my videos, then we're on the same frequency. You kind of have an idea of what I'm saying. You follow what I'm saying. So why not? Why not you? Why can't you have this ability just like me? I feel like we all have this ability of bringing out a different side out of somebody. You just have to really try, and you have to just learn through experience. You know, everything comes with time, everything comes with experience and divine timing, divine order. So, with all that being said, if y'all let this video motivated, if y'all let this video inspired, or if you let this video a better person, then I did my part. Other than that, peace, love, positivity. I love y'all. Take care of yourself. Peace.